Well, hey, YouTube, Petey Twofinger coming at you with a quick keyboard modification. This one, it's a Logitech keyboard where you can disassemble it. There's a good amount of screws. There's 14 chassis screws. Now the reason I really like this is you can, the keys don't fall out. And what you do is you remove these screws, and then you take like a scrub brush, and you can just dump dishwashing liquid. I used bubble stuff. Okay, our kids are grown and gone, and my wife was going to throw some bubble stuff away. So I took that bubble stuff, I cut it with water. This is how unbelievably cheap I am. Anyway, scrubby scrub, and then we had some cat hair. I whisper because we're not supposed to technically have a cat. Anyway, I actually cleared that with the landlord, by the way. He said, "You can't tell me, I can't know." That's what he said. So yeah, clean all that out. Scrubby scrub, scrubby scrub. You get the debris out of here. This is the mat that is the buttons that make contact with these. Today's project was, I am sick and tired of these Sunbeam AAA batteries. They just don't hold enough electricity. They're going in a landfill. And the alkaline batteries do last quite a bit longer. But these batteries, it seems to me that they last about a month at most. So here's what we got going on. This is a 18650 battery. It's a lithium ion rechargeable, and I've got a charger over there. So just the mass of this, like if we were to weigh the other battery, how light it, like this battery holds so much more current. And I'm guessing this is going to last a year, and then I'm going to have to recharge it. I will probably recharge it every 6 months, I'm guessing. I will go, I'm going to pop that out and put another one in and then charge this. These things are great. I get these at resale in laptop power packs. There'll be a square thing that came out of a laptop. It'll say $1.99, anywhere from $1.99 to $4.99, and then I buy that, pry it open or cut it open with a knife, and there'll be like 8 or 9 of these in there. And you kind of disconnect them. They have little metal connectors you have to pry off. You can get heat shrink tubing. If that ever gets damaged or nicked, it's kind of dangerous. So I like to have the wraps, they're called, and then you can, let's say it's damaged, or you damage it in the process of removing it. You slip a new wrap on and then use a hair dryer. This is an embossing tool, which just runs a little hotter than a hair dryer. Anyway, how you go ahead and hook this up if you want to do this trick. You take the chassis screws out and then look for, here's a red wire and a black wire. So you could very well just tie in right here. I follow those wires. They connect up here. So we removed these through 3 screws. This panel popped up, and on the bottom there was 2 solder points. I apologize for not showing you. And then I got some thin wire, a green and a red piece of wire. I drilled 1 hole here and 1 hole here. And what I did, I wrapped this around and gave it a bunch of slack, and then I hot glued it, which is completely counterintuitive because it's hot glued in place. So the fact of the matter is, when I go to remove this, I'm gonna have to figure something out. Basically, I'll have to tuck these wires under and leave it as it is. So what's next on the menu is we're gonna put this here and then use hot glue to glue this down, and then additional piece of hot glue here to hold this wire, an additional piece here, And then when it's time to take this off, I'll be able to just flip to clean it. Or actually, I think what I would do is probably pry it off, scrape the hot glue off, unsolder this, and reapply the whole thing, for lack of a better system of doing it. I mean, really, cleaning the keyboard, it takes a good half hour from taking it apart. This step that we see here is applying nail polish. Got to make sure I'm not just running my mouth and then doing it wrong, doing it incorrectly. Blow something up. So here we got a red and white wire. I would think that would be positive, right? And then a black wire. So if you're pitting red and white versus black, I think you would think, yes, the black would be the ground or the negative wire, and the red wire, the red and white wire would be the positive. So we dab a little bit. And this helps when Mr. Reverse Polarity comes to town for a visit. Mr. Reverse Polarity, the hilarity of the polarity. Mr. Reverse Polarity, the hilarity. That's when I'm installing something, cutting in something, and oopsies. It's like I always say, electronics is simple. There's positive and negative. Don't mix them up. Because people will go like, man, I don't know how you can figure that SHIT out. You know, like I can't even set my clock on my VCR. Like, well, that's a completely different thing. That's called basic logic function reasoning. Like looking, reading, comprehending, like thinking it through. Has nothing to do with electronics. And again, positive and negative, don't mix them up. Pretty simple. So yeah, that was how I run this keyboard off of this ridiculous oversized battery. It's gonna wait it out. It's gonna, but this thing's already, it's way, so if I do the center of gravity, it's probably closer to, here. So, yeah, there you go. Running the Logitech. No, you got to think, would it be like 3.3 volts running off the AAAs? And this is like 4.5 when it's fully charged. So I was kind of nervous when I plugged it in. What happens when I go and put the battery in backwards? Because I will. I'm gonna blow this keyboard up. It'll blow up. I really don't think that there's a reverse polarity. You remember me singing this song? Mr. Reverse Polarity, the hilarity of the polarity. That's me putting shit in backwards, going, yeah, okay. I gotta make sure I put the positive on red and the negative goes on green, and then I hook it up wrong. This is what I do. It's my favorite and only trick. So what we do, we get a 1N5817 diode. The diode does nothing until that day when Mr. Reverse Polarity, the hilarity, like, ever watch Brady Bunch? They would have that music by Deval. They would have that, and it was like one of the kids would be like choking a rabbit to death, or some horrible molesting a cat or something. Music by Deval, hey, and then the dad would come in. We don't strangle animals. The 1N5817 is a good diode to use because it has the least voltage drop. So when you put this in your circuit, the voltage drops, and they use them for that. But in this, we're using it because the diode is the one-way street of electronic components. Power goes in, but it can't go out. So by that philosophy, when you have it hooked up correctly, power goes in, drops a little bit. But if I were to hook it in backwards, it stops. There's actually a little line on the diode, okay, and that line tells you which way it'll flow. So with that knowledge, earlier today we were looking at a schematic, and my wife says that one didn't have the 47 UF, and I said, well, it's probably for there's two different circuits of the same thing, layouts of the same circuit, and she noticed that the one had this pretty high value capacitor that the other one didn't have, and I said, well, it's probably just power filtering. And we went and looked at it, and sure enough, it was power filtering. And I said, see this, the way this works is that diode is in there for polarity protection, and then the way I explained it was, if you had a hose, water hose, and you were turning the valve on and off, somebody was messing with you, and you wanted to have a steady stream of water, you could take a bucket, put that bucket and puncture a small hole, like a pencil-sized hole, and let that guy keep messing with the water. Well, eventually it would fill up, and if you had the hole small enough, and then you would have that reservoir of water, and after a while, that bucket would fill up, and he could sit there and play all day. You had your reservoir working for you. You would have a steady stream of water, and that is what we could think of a capacitor's job. Capacitor is like a battery, or a bucket in this case of analogy, and it just streams out what they call ripple, DC ripple, or is that AC ripple? We're gonna put it on the positive side with the line going into the thingy thing. What I'm gonna do is cut this, or do I just flip it over and make it a nice little loop-de-loop? Man, this is an unbelievably long video now, huh? Okay, that's a little bit long. We're gonna chop this one down here and give it a little bit of a fold over, and then let's see, it's going to go on the end. We're going to hot glue this so we can have this kind of hang off the side a little bit, a little bit. So maybe my helper can film and help. I know I'm going to burn the living Jesus out of my finger doing this maneuver here. So we're gonna pre-tin this, put a little bit on there, drop it of course while it's hot, and burn my leg. So I've got a fatty tumor. Speaking of legs, if anyone is a doctor or can give me some free medical advice about fatty tumors, if you've had a fatty tumor, if you'd like one, you can contact me. I'm sure I could arrange something to get you your very own fatty tumor. I thought it was a spider bite. It was like a thing on my leg, on my right leg. It was like a spider bite, like a bump, like a hard lump, an oval. And it never went away. It's still there. So I'm going to have to get that, take a look at that. Hopefully I'll be okay. I'm really nervous about this thing. Yeah, it's a big old lump. And kind of hurts, now that I mention it. So here we go. We've got our diode coming off this end. Fatty tumor, ahoy. And I'm just gonna freehand that in. Let's tin it first, huh? Shall we? Apply a little bit of the old number 57 flux. There we go.
Ah. These kids and their freehand soldering, they don't know anything about a fatty tumor.
And I probably should have, you know, I could put a little, oh, this is a big, we want a little. There we go.
Fatty tumor, fatty schmoomer.
So yeah, I will position this, run a line of hot glue in here, hold this down and hold it till it's dry, and then I will little dab will do you here, and then something with this probably coming around, probably something like that, a little bit, glue it or tape it, it doesn't really matter. I mean, my hands aren't going to be getting up there. I do run a rubber band through this channel to hold it down to the board. So I just need to make sure that I'm east of that channel, and we're good to go. Thank you for joining us in this incredibly long video on how to ruin a perfectly good Logitech keyboard. We'll see you around. Peace.